Hey everybody, how's it going? So this is my first video here at TGU 19 here at Toman. We're in a really sweaty room in a really creepy German old house, and it's got wallpaper, and it's just like
don't touch the walls.
Yeah, really. It's like it looks like the Blair Witch Project was shot in here at some point. I mean, it's freaking terrifying. I wouldn't want to spend a night in here. We got a special guest on the show. This is Matt Knight from Boss. And how's it going, Matt? Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Good to finally sit in a video together.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been talking email back and forth for a while. Remember 2 names ago, I was going to meet you, and you got sick. You spent a couple days in the hospital or something like that?
The colleague of mine ended up being hospitalised, and then I was doing a bunch of demos, and it was all crazy. But we seem to run into each other at every single event. So
yeah, so I bumped into you in NAMM at January. And if we can get a close-up on this thing, this is what the big exciting thing was this year is this thing right here. Yes, okay, finally. Thanks for taking the initiative there, Switch guy. So what is this thing? Hey, close up on the fucking unit. Come on, guys, pay attention.
So this thing is designed for people like you. So Reactive loadbox.
Is it going to make bass players better? It's going to make my life in the studio easier?
I can't promise that.
Well, it wasn't designed for people like me then.
But effectively, what we've got, Reactive loadbox for valve amps.
Okay. So explain that to the bass players out there. What does that mean? And dumb it down a little bit so they can.
Okay, so a
reactive load box. Nobody knows what the fuck that means.
So when you plug a guitar amp into a speaker, there's a certain amount of interaction between the valve amp and the speaker.
Okay. We're talking to a North American audience. What the fuck is a valve amp?
Tube amp.
There we go.
For the American audiences out there.
Yeah, I know. Elevator, lift. Yeah. Just one of those.
And there's a certain amount of interaction there, but you have to plug into a speaker, and that speaker has a load, effectively, and the two interact and talk to each other. They're having a...
Hey, Beavis, he said load.
So what this does is it effectively sits in between the tube amp and the speaker and mimics a speaker, effectively. So you can safely plug this valve amp, tube amp, into this and then not plug into a speaker. So what's the advantage of that?
Well, obviously for everybody who's playing in an apartment, if you're at home, you've got a family, or you can't turn your valve amp up, whatever the fuck that is, up really fucking loud. You can grab one of these and you can do speaker emulations. Basically, it's also a great solution for recording as well. Like if you don't know how to mic up a cab, or you're just not sure and whatnot, you can go with whatever you've got on here, or load up your own custom IRs on impulse responses onto it, and away you go. So when it comes to digital recording, I like amps. Some of the amp sims are starting to get pretty good, but when it comes to recording, miking up a real 4x12, there's still nothing quite like it. But I gotta say, if you're going digital, I do prefer a hybrid system like this, where you have a tube amp and you've got some kind of a reactive load box. But what's special about this one?
Well, so obviously a normal load box will allow you to crank the amp up, as you say, and then it will safely handle the load, so you can speak this, you can crank this up and get all the tones you want. But what's interesting about this particular load box over the other ones on the market is there's 16 different reactive loads. So in simple terms, what that means is 16 different types of speaker cab load built into this. Right. So if you're in the studio, you're an engineer, and a guy comes in with his amp, you might not have 16 different cabs to plug into, because every cab will make the amp sound different. Not necessarily the sound of the speaker, but actually the physical load and the interaction between the amp. So you can actually dial in the speaker load to the amplifier.
Well, why don't we see what happens here? Basically, you've got resonance and presence. So if you own a tube amp, you're already used to dealing with something like that. So let's see what this thing does. Let's play a couple of heavy riffs for us. So I was going to say, it's like you start dialing on the resonance, you go higher, you can definitely hear the bottom end thicken up quite a bit.
Exactly.
So we're gonna keep that kind of thick. Let's see what happens with the top end here. That's kind of cool too. We can hear the top end just get a little bit brighter. Now we're just going through floor wedges here, so I'm not quite sure what we're getting in terms of a heavy tone, because let's put it this way, this isn't exactly like a set of Genelecs, so I'm not exactly sure. So for all you guys out there going, oh, it sounds like shit, hey, we're going off the best we've got available here. Matt has promised to send us one to the Hollywood studio, and we're going to hold you to it, Matt.
Oh.
So we're going to give it a full rundown when we get it there, but I mean, like, I'm super excited about this because it does seem like a pretty practical solution, especially because you can dial in the different things. That basically gives you like 1x12, 2x12, 4x12.
Yeah, effectively the different impedance curves, as it actually is, the impedance curve of the speaker load, and you've got 16 different types in there, so each one of those will totally change the interaction, the feel of the amp, and then you've got your XLR outs for recording,
right?
But you can still go into a cab.
And you said you've got a USB out as well, right?
You've got USB out as well, so you can use this as an interface effectively.
Oh, that's
as
fantastic.
Well.
Okay, and so show us what else is up there.
Yeah, so down here you've got your reactive load, and then this is your speaker volume. So if you're going out into a cab, you can dial in the speaker volume.
Fantastic.
But what's neat is you can have the speaker volume and the line out volume simultaneously.
Great.
So if you're using it live, you can send IRs to front of house or in-ears. But you can still have cab sound, so you can still mic up a cab on stage, but then have in-ears as well with your own IRs.
Fantastic.
And we're testing that out with some guys who are on a couple of stadium tours at the moment, so that's really neat for them to be able to do that. But there's a couple of really nice features for valve amp users. The first one's effects loop. So if you use an old school Plexi, for example, that thing sounds great with everything turned up to 10. You want to stick a delay pedal in front, everything sounds totally mushy and horrible, basically, because you're running delay straight into the front of a really gainy amp. So this actually has an inbuilt effects loop in it, so if you want to use those, you can literally run those into the back as well.
So we got effects loop.
We've actually bought some inbuilt effects, so there's 2 different types of rack compressor, 5 different types of reverb, and 6 different types of delay that you can dial in as well. So that because that all sits post power amp.
And can you program this with your app?
It's all on the editor, which is PC or Mac based. There's no phone based on this. We tried to keep everything as a solid connection, so you don't have to worry about Wi-Fi connection.
But you can still hook up laptop onto this and just keep control.
Exactly.
Okay, that's cool.
Exactly.
And then so we got that. We got what's solo.
So
EQ?
we got solo EQ. So there's a parametric or graphic EQ, which you can then dial in. You can move where.
Oh, so you can punch that in for a guitar solo or whatnot for a live performance or whatnot. Studio wise, you're not going to worry about that too much.
No.
But in a live situation, that's cool.
Yeah. So and that because again, all this sits post power amp of the valve amp. It's not going in at the gain stage, so
nice.
It's keeping your amp tone, your core amp tone the same. And then we've got amp control on there as well. So if you've got a channel change on an amp or you want to switch something on and off, you can have that. And then there's an optional foot controller we do, and you can just do everything via the.
So that'll change channels on your amp.
Yeah.
Okay, that's different.
Yeah, so you can have this as your all-in-one solution. But there's one key thing I haven't told you about, which is great for recording or for live use. Is that the way this works is rather than a traditional attenuator that you crank your amp up and then you knock back that volume. The problem with that is you suck all the tone out, you suck all the top end out. What we do is we load it down to 0 and then reamp it through a 100 watt power amp. So you can take a 1 watt amp, crank the hell out of it, and then this will turn it into 100 watts.
This has an actual amp built in?
This has a 100 watt, completely neutral, Class AB solid state power amp built into it as well. So you can take a 1 watt amp, get the best tone of your life, and then run it out at 100 watts.
Oh, so you mean like the front of house or whatever?
Yeah,
That's insane.
Yeah, so you can make it totally giggable.
So you can get like one of those little Hotones or something like that and just run it.
Yeah, as long as it's a valve amp, just go straight into that, and then away you go.
Fuck, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So even like one of those little 5 watt Harley Bentons or something like that.
Yeah, or in the studio, if you wanted to do that and then run that through a cab and mic that up, you can do that as well.
That's
and
insane.
then still do your IRs straight out of the XLRs on the back.
That's actually really cool. So that definitely opens up some tone options. And
it just makes it a really nice live option for people who actually want to go out and perform and stuff like that as well. That's the thing, because it's all well and good having a studio bit of kit, but what if you want to take that exact rig and run it out live? And that's why we've racked everything here just for TGU, so you can see that you can actually rack this. So you can take that out, you can rack an amp as well, you can still put in a.
Do the rack ears come with it?
The rack ears come with it as well.
Very good. Okay, that's a big plus. I don't know how many small pieces of stuff. I'm like, where the fuck are the rack ears? What am I supposed to do with this fucking thing? No, that's great.
So
that is awesome.
You can literally rack it up and then away you go. But the great thing for you in the studio is you can just rack it into the desk or wherever.
Exactly.
The guy brings his guitar amp head in. All you need is that speaker feed out from that into that, and that's it. And, away you go.
And once more, you can load customizable IRs onto it. So once we get this into the Hollywood studio, we're going to put it to the test. We're going to load up some of the Lancaster stuff onto it and just see what we can get out of it. So just remember, if you don't see it in a couple of weeks on the show, make sure you send Matt Knight at boss.com a really nasty email.
Don't worry, it will be on the way. Because I think the thing for this is we've built a bunch of cab sims in there, but you know your IRs. You want to use those sounds that you've spent time creating, and you want to use the amps that you've got. And I think that's the thing: is plumbing into a studio, it makes a world of
Oh, sure, and it definitely saves the fiddliness. You can just plug your shit in and go, and then you can just roll tape and then let the guitar player disappoint you.
Yeah, as always. Anyway. Especially me, anyway.
All right, Matt. So thanks so much for being on the show, man. It's such a real pleasure to have you on here. Finally, I've been a fan of Boss since the '80s. I gotta admit, I'm like, growing up, the distortion, the SD1, just the Boss graphic EQ. I remember using that to take out the 500 hertz and one kilohertz down to 0 for those thrash tones back in the '80s before I knew how to dial in a tone. Big smiley face. Oh yeah, this is heavy as shit, man.
Break the middle ones off, so it's just permanently there.
Oh god, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it's so cool to finally have Boss, like I said, a totally legendary brand on the show. I've done the Katana 100 earlier this year, which is a really cool amp. But yeah, this thing looks really promising. Can't wait to get it in the studio and take it, put it to the absolute breaking point limit test and see what happens.
That's what we do. That's why we send you gear.
Awesome. Thanks very much to everybody involved here at Toman, the awesome switching crew, and of course Matt Knight from Boss.
Thanks.
Until next time, Hasadiki boy.